Okay, a little featurette here. This is a distributor from a Rover V8 fitted to a 1971 Range Rover, and I'm trying to sort out a couple of running issues. You would have probably seen the video of me doing the carburetors on that. Well, they're all ready to go back in, and this is the distributor as it's arrived. Now, I can first and foremost I can draw air through the vacuum advance module. So the vacuum advance module is dead. It doesn't actually look like an original one. Could be a pattern part there, which might hinder my chances for getting a surcharge replacement now. So we are looking at a standard 35D8 points-based distributor. And this one, the 5-digit reference on the side, is 41325. Just going to give it a bit of a clean up. Oh good, the points are moving nicely. So that's all operating nicely. Could just need the barest of cleans on the outside. And then we'll take it apart. I've ordered up new bits. I only buy distributor parts now from Distributor Doctor. Google him. He's based in Taunton? Can't remember. He's online. But when you're dealing with Distributor Doctor, it doesn't have a particularly thorough, let's say, web internet shop front. So the best thing to do is to email or call him. But the parts he supplies are good. They're invariably very good. And when there's a problem with them, what will often happen is he will deal with the problem rather than just telling you, well, I've got your money, piss off. Which is what happens with so many other suppliers of these parts. Now, the distributor itself has cleaned up reasonably nicely, actually. So I'm just using a standard degreaser here. This does look like a pattern vacuum advance. The rotor arm is just cheap generic shite. Now, we've got a clean tray. Now I'm going to have to go and clean this tray out. Right, it was a bit of an arse to get out, I'll be honest, and that's partly, I think, because it is a pattern part. That's what the original part looks like. I don't know where that came from. Well, I know where it came from. It came off this distributor, but I don't know whereabouts it came from as far as its origin. Now, what I had to do with this, there's a nut on this post here, which then spring loads the whole of the top base plate down to the bottom base plate. And you can see here how it all kind of moves around with regards to the adjustment and so forth. Now there's a nice washer there, sitting there. Just drop down into the distributor. But in the bottom here, now you can actually see that there's the mechanical bob weights. And if I work one-handed, I can work one-handed. Can I adjust that so you can actually see what's going on in there? If I hold the bottom, they don't open an awful lot. They are opening, that's fine. There's some backlash in there. I might have to take it apart and just double check what's going on. And then when it comes to this base plate, you can see I've got another almost identical distributor out because this one didn't have a vacuum advance. And I'm thinking, well, how on earth did that come off there then? And then I was looking at that screw there thinking, oh, that'll be it. No, it isn't. It actually goes underneath that peg there. But by undoing this, you can access the mechanism. It's always nice how much crap you find on the inside of a distributor. Look at all this shit in here. So, only one way to deal with it. Spray a load of gloop in there, get an old toothbrush, clean it out. And that should get that a bit better. I don't think we're going to need an ultrasonic clean on this. I think most of it is just decades old shit and grease. Do I need to take this apart? I don't think I need to take the bob weights apart because they are looking reasonably intact. This is definitely turning against the main shaft, so the top section here is separate to the main shaft of the distributor. That's all working okay. Right, let's just get some accelerants, spray it through. Just like a brake cleaner. That'll do that. That's more or less clean in there now. Right, to clean with the nice thing about these very early distributors like this, the points-based distributors, you could just take the whole damn thing apart. So I've undone the nuts, take the screw off, then lift this entire plate off, and then look, we can clean all of this lot up. It's going to make life a shitload easier when it comes to putting the points back in as well. This can all come back off again just so I can clean. You can't take that bit off, that's riveted in place, but I wouldn't worry too much about that anyway. And then this base plate. Nice oily rag. That goes back on there, on that post. Got this funny little spring clip thing here, which is actually a retainer for the felt pad, which should be pushed against the center, whatever you want to call it, that bit. No. Right, that can go back on there, and then we've got a spring, the washer. Put that nut back on there. Piece of piss really. Then that can go back down again. Nip that up. We're back where we should be. Sometimes they come out, sometimes they don't. That one's come out beautifully. Right, so now that big screw comes out. I can now unclip the two bob weight springs. Trouble is, I probably should have got these springs off before I undid the screw on the top, because all I'm able to do now is just lift this bloody thing up all the time, which is not helping, nor is my coffee throat. Put that back in again. Right, now it's off. Right, and then what I want to do is make sure I put this back on the right way round. So how are we going to measure this? I probably want a dot. If I go for that one and that one, so I know those two need to align. And then this, I'll put the screw back in, Richard. This should then lift straight off. Okay, top half of distributor shaft off, and then we can see all of the rust and the gloop that's in there. So it probably was quite wise just to take that apart. Put that there, put that there, put this here. And there we are. Weights located back in. So effectively all I've really done here, so weights are loose on this style, On other styles they kind of have pegs which the weights sit on, but in this style the peg is on the underside of the central section, which still needs to be cleaned up. You really did see fuck all of that, didn't you? So these are the weights here. They're just where they came from. And they've got two pegs with rivets on the top of them. Puts the shaft back over the top, lining up so I know this spring with the red dot on it because I painted it on there, and that holder with the red dot on it match up. Drop the top section down over the top of the weights, and that is pretty much it. So all I need to do now is just lube everything up, and it can go back together. Yeah, postage bin. Right, so we've got a original spec vacuum advance, which is more or less exactly the same in its design to the one that came off the car, except it's less flimsy, and it's got some markings around here. But I'm reliably informed that this is the correct vacuum advance unit for the Range Rover. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then additionally we have a brand spanking new Distributor Doctor distributor cap. I don't bother with any other manufacturers of these things anymore. I've had too many problems with them. These work out of the box every bloody time, and they don't let you down. And then in here, look at that, genuine service parts, red and black box Lucas, contact set, and a genuine Distributor Doctor embossed DD rotor arm, fat tail one, which is for the points distributor, and in here we should have a Distributor Doctor condenser. And we do, nice little DD label on it. So let's put this chappy together. Now, one thing that is slightly worrying me about this point set. It's a very slightly different shape and design, but overall same dimensions. But this, I don't know where it came from, this Distributor Doctor. Right. Oh, Lucas, I should say. Looks like old school Lucas. Not green box Lucas. Right, let's not put that in there. Let's put that in there because this is all the cracked parts. And then I can quick clear up on the bench here. Yeah, look at that, tidied the bench up. Let's put this lot in here now. So how best do we demonstrate this? I repaired the wire, by the way. So I've just spliced in the wires, soldered them together, put some heat shrink over the top, and that's that now improved. I think what we do is we mount this in the vise, but I need to just give it a little sweep out first because I've been drilling in there. Right, you come over here. Right, so I think what we do is we start with points and condenser. Vacuum advance actually first. Let's do that. So, in order to put the vacuum advance module on, which goes in through that hole there, that way up, I'll need to recover the grommet off the old one. That's there, that fits. So realistically, undo this nut here. Realistically, what does that even mean, Richard? Start by taking this nut off here, find myself a little container to put bits in before I knock them all over the floor. Right, there's the nut and the lock washer, spring, and then top plate should come straight up and off, and it does. Earth cable's attached at the moment, I'm not bothered. Undo the two screws on the outside, which I put back in just so I didn't lose them. There and there. And there and there. a screwdriver. Right, and then vacuum advanced module. We're missing a washer. There it is down there. Fell down there just as I took. Let's rotate this around so you can see what's actually going on. And the new vacuum advanced module with grommet goes in. Rotate grommet around. So grommet goes into hole on side of distributor body. Thus, and find the threaded hole, which is there. Of course, you're just looking at my fucking hand. Probably been easier the way around, wouldn't it, really? Right, what I need to do here is mount the screw in my screwdriver first. Right, that's on the thread. That's going to go back in the eel. There we are. And that goes in there. And then we rotate the distributor around. Probably could do with a better way of mounting the distributor, really, couldn't I? Have I got a big socket that I could put it in? Right, there's the other hole. Sniff. Let's pop this screw in here. And that can tighten up. And then we can reattach, let's go onto the shoulder, reattach the base plates. Peg there needs to go through hole on the vacuum advance arm, like that. And then we get my little syringe test kit, and we'll make sure that when I pull a vacuum on here, which hopefully you can see, yeah, that it moves the base plate, and then we can put everything back together again. So that little clip goes back on there, that little clip goes on there, and then there's a lock washer, which is the one that I found in the bottom of the distributor, and then there's a nut. It's not the one that's working on it either. Right, there goes that. That's roughly in place. I need to tighten that up properly. Now that is a nylock. Just done it up tight-ish. Right, it's going to get the vacuum. Right, so all I've got here is just one of these kind of syringe things with a bit of vacuum line. And when I pull on this, it should move the base plate. There we are. A bit cack-handed to start off with then, Richard. Now, I've just noticed what's happened there is the bloody electrical contact has moved. So we can see that moving quite happily. So we know the vacuum advance is connected and is working. Next, we've got condenser. We have got points. So condenser goes into this hole here. Right, undo that chappy there. That's out. That can go in there. The wire over the top over there. Again, quite cack-handed, Richard. Screw the condenser in. And then the point set can go in. That goes under this screw here. And there's a peg on this end which needs to go in that hole there. That's what locates it. That's the pivot point. Okay. And then we've got a flat blade. That one will probably do it. Screw those bastards in. I didn't go down right. Why hasn't that gone down right? Let's just wind the adjuster out so that the shoe is not on the base plate there. Point set is not going down level. It has now. I don't know why. That's not going in on this peg here. Why not? Why not? There we are. Right, you heard it click in then? So that was the peg underneath the pivot under there. Hadn't clicked down properly. Right, there is a little lock washer on this. I've just gone back in. That can then go down. That's gone in level. Right, and now when I rotate the distributor, if I adjust it such that the points gap is about right. I generally set these using dwell angle, so the engine needs to be running, but we probably need to get some form of points gap in there before we go too berserk. And then the other thing, of course, I need to do is to connect up the electrics underneath this post here. Now, oh, that's interesting. They don't include the insulator plate. We can set the points gap though. So if I just get the workshop manual. This is a very well thumbed version of the workshop manual. And ignition 4.1, page 1, ignition distributor, dwell percentage points gap, initial setting only, 14 to 16 thou. 14 to 16 thou, but then you must set it using the dwell angle. I'll go over that. Right, well 14 to 16 thou sounds like 15 thou to me. So does that go in there? It's a little bit on the tight side, loose side, sorry. So I'll just tighten that up. That's about 15 thou. Dead easy. So much easier setting these up like this. It really is. And then if I rotate this around, so that is open as wide as it will go, and the cam is right on the lobe there. I'm going to have to go through my box of spares and see if I've got the insulator cap. So effectively what happens with the point sets is you get a windy nut on the top here, and underneath the windy nut you have an insulating top hat cup. Now if I take the points right off this and wind it right out, you'll see there's another one at the bottom here. So there's one insulating cup there, and there's one insulating cup there. And the idea is that they insulate this from the post and an earth. And that then means that this bar here and that are on separate circuits. And I'm missing that. Just double check and see what the bottom cup looks like. So if I undo this nut, and you can see there the insulator is missing from underneath, take that off, then lift that up. Oh, do you know what? You silly cunt. The whole post is insulated. None of that is metal. Having done that, what I then need to do is to pop that on there and that on there, and then do the nut back up again. Now there's no washer under here either, which I'm surprised about, but we'll see what happens. It's not going to need to be done very tight, is it? Right, that's on. And then, if I get the multimeter here on continuity and attach this to the distributor body, we can check we've got continuity. You can see it going to continuity. Now, if I then attach the other end of this to the black wire, which is hiding over here somewhere, and then rotate the distributor, that's working nicely. That's ready to go back in. So then what I do is just make sure that everything inside the distributor is tucked out of the way, because obviously there's moving parts in here, rotor arms and so forth. I don't want stuff to get caught up or to start to short out. So just be sure that everything there is in good order. And then next we've got our Distributor Doctor rotor arm. Now the other thing that's missing out of this, and I thought I'd order one, but I checked the invoice and it's not on it, is a felt pad that goes in there, and the cap. And the springs. Done. You notice how tight this cap is once the clips are on. Yeah, but you don't get that with other types of distributor cap. I don't know what tolerances they're making them to. Didn't find a new one, found one on another distributor that's fine, it will do the job. Just a blob of oil on that, and it lubricates, I guess, the contact between the centre section here and the points. I'm happy enough with that. Now, as if to prove a point here on cheap, nasty, horrible, disgusting distributor caps, well, I've got a few exhibits here for you. Predictably, I keep these things because they just fucking annoy me. So here's one, brand spanking new. We'll start with this one. Absolutely brand spanking new. Same manufacturer. An earlier one, pattern part. And then for reference purposes, here is a very old, these are the fabled blue Lucas caps that Land Rover used to sell these, and all of the forums back, well, I suppose about 20 years ago, would say, you must get a blue cap, which is probably why these geniuses decided to colour these crap caps blue. But that cap, even though it's showing signs of wear on each of the contacts, just the quality is so different. These chappies from Distributor Doctor are the closest thing I can find to the original Lucas, and if anything they're probably slightly better than the original Lucas, because they will just guarantee that they bloody work. There is just one final test that I recommend you do, and that's once you've put the points in, the contact points are in, and they're all screwed down, just double check the vacuum of art still works. Do you remember that issue I had? I can't remember which car it was on now. It might have been the MG Midget, where the screw with the contact points was too long. What was happening was the screw was going through the top plate, the moving plate, and just kissing the lower plate and preventing the vacuum advance from actually working. Now we're done. Hope you enjoyed that. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Nice one.